Okay, right, so hi everyone, and welcome to today, the first class in 2022. And today's class will be, the focus of today's class will be the water element, because what I'll be doing for the rest of the classes is we'll be focusing each month on a different element. This is according to traditional Chinese medicine, and because it's winter, the element according to Chinese traditional medicine is water. So of course water is this element that is with us everywhere in the ocean. 60% of our body is water. And so it's a time for us to be introspective and to rest a lot and to basically to build up the energy for the other seasons that come. And so today we've got a really slow introspective practice where we're going to be working on a lot of forward bends and back bends, just to get the spine nourished and lubricated. So if you come to a comfortable seated position, we're going to start with what they call the Ujjayi Breathing. So if you remember that one, it's basically breathing in through your nose and out through your nose if you can, if not just out through your mouth. And holding, basically breathing in for 4 and then out for 4. And if you can, holding 1 breath on the inhale and 1 breath on the exhale. So let's get started here. So before we start, just adjusting and checking in with your posture. The spine is long. Your chin is slightly down. The arms are relaxed. The hands are relaxed. The shoulder blades are towards each other. And just as we start, just noticing the state of your breath. And just notice, how are you feeling inside? If you're feeling active, if you're feeling a little bit slow and sluggish, just noticing that energy you have inside. Okay, now exhaling completely, and then inhale 2, 3, 4, retain, exhale 2, 3, 4, retain, inhale 2, 3, 4, retain, exhale 2, 3, 4, retain, inhale 2, 3, 4, retain, exhale 2, 3, 4, retain. Inhale 2, 3, 4, retain, exhale 2, 3, 4. Retain. And now just continue at your own pace. Inhaling and exhaling. Now slowly open your eyes and let's move off the bolster if you've been seated on a bolster, and we're going to move straight away to the first pose of today, which is the Sphinx pose. Remember, with the Sphinx pose you can simply be lying on your stomach if that is the back bend that you need, or coming up onto your elbows. So just adjusting as best suits you. And we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So if you haven't been doing yin for a long time, I would suggest that you start off slowly. Perhaps your elbows in front of you, and just checking in with your lower back. Remember, if there's any discomfort in the lower back, then bring your torso down a little bit more. And once you've found that position where you feel that optimum stretch in the front part of the body and this nice compression of your lumbar spine, and just relax there. So in this pose we are compressing the kidneys, and the kidney is a key organ in traditional Chinese medicine, particularly in the winter, because it's connected ultimately intricately connected with water, with the regulation of fluids in our body. And so, just as compressing bones and connective tissue stimulates their growth, so it's also important to compress different organs in our body. And according to traditional Chinese medicine, the kidney stores what is called Jing, which is it's like the fuel for our body. It nourishes it. It provides fuel for the cells. And it also cools the body. So it's quite a yin element. And this energy is used up more and more as we get older through stress and illness. And so it's important to take this time in winter just to replenish. It's a bit like hibernation, like the animals hibernating. We need to replenish the body so it's ready for spring. We need to look inwards. To listen to the body. To rest. To reduce the stress. To look after this energy. Okay, so now very slowly bring your head down, leaning on your hands if you want, and then at the same time bend one knee, so it's the knee in the direction that you're looking at. So this gives you an opportunity just to relax, to focus on one area of the lower back. So you can just relax that area, relax your shoulders, relax your arms. And just notice how this feels in the lumbar spine. Remember, you will notice everything a little bit more because it's winter. Everything is a little bit stiffer. And now slowly straighten that leg, if you have it bent, and then turn your head to the other side and bend the other leg. And observe that side. Relax your arms, relax your shoulders. Okay, so now slowly coming up, and let's come to a seated position, and we're going to move to the saddle. Okay, so we've done an extension now, and so we're going to do a flexion, so we're going to move backwards. Okay, so in this position we're going to stay here for 6 minutes with the full saddle, but if you prefer to do half a saddle, of course you can do then 3 minutes on each side. So what I would suggest is, if you prefer to do half saddle, then just sitting on the block if you need that, and stretching starting with your right leg. Remember, that is for the half saddle. If you haven't done it for a while and you're feeling a bit stiff, you can just stay in this position. If you've been doing a little bit of yin, then you could perhaps lean back. Remember, the important thing is feeling the stretch in the quadriceps, the front muscles of the leg. And if you're feeling that you are okay to do the full saddle, then actually just sitting on the block if you need to, or sitting between the legs. Yeah, so I'm actually going to start with I'm going to be doing the half saddle because I'm pretty stiff today, sitting in aeroplanes for 30 hours. So I'm going to start with the half saddle. You're welcome to do the full saddle. We're going to be doing this for 6 minutes, so 3 minutes on each side. So starting off with the right leg stretched out, and then just checking in with the quadriceps. How do they feel today? Remember, you can always put supports under, especially under the front leg. So for example, if you have another block, you can put a block under the stretched out leg, because remember, the important thing is the bent leg. The stretched out leg can be relaxed on another block. And then, if that's comfortable for you as well, you can start to lean back a little bit as well. So just checking in with the body to see how it feels. How does that feel? Do you feel a nice stretch? And if you are here and you're not feeling anything at all, of course, you could move yourself a little bit further back. But remember, with everything, with yin, it's not about how far or how deep we go into the pose. Remember that introspective element of yin, where we are just focusing on how we feel and whether we find that stretch. That is always the focus in yin. Do we find the stretch? And if we find the stretch, it doesn't matter what the pose looks like, as long as we feel that those cells have been stressed. That's the technical word. It's the pressure that we are applying on the body because of the pose. So we have 30 seconds to go on this side. Okay, so now very slowly straighten your leg. Straighten your leg very slowly, and we're going to stay here for half a minute, and then we're going to do a counter pose before we move to the other side. So just resting here, particularly with the knee, paying attention to the knee. How does the knee feel? Is it comfortable? If it's feeling a little bit uncomfortable, remember you may have been a little bit aggressive, so just be careful in the other side, on the other side. Remember, as I said before, in the winter, and especially if you haven't been doing a lot of exercise, you may be quite tense, so you need to go really slowly on this first class. Okay, so now bend your knees, and we're going to do the windscreen wiper, which you haven't done for a while. Bend your knees, your arms behind you, and then just very slowly allow the legs to fall, the knees to fall from one side to the other. Remember, the important thing here is slowly. It's not a dynamic class. It's a very slow movement from side to side. Yeah, just relaxing. Okay. Right, excellent. Okay, right, so let's now move to the other leg. So now bending the right leg behind us and the left leg straight out. And once again, also here for 3 minutes. So checking in to how that feels, you can simply sit up. Remember, always the option of sitting on a block. You can also have a block underneath the straight leg. And checking in with this side. Remember, the sides can also be different because we are not symmetrical. Okay. And then shifting a little bit back if we don't feel much of a stretch. Always moving gently. Going into a Yin pose always reminds me of my mum going into the water. So she would go, she would edge in slowly. She wouldn't dive in, and this is what we do in Yin. We edge in, we find the limit of our body, and we just rest there, stay there, observe. Always gentle, sustained pressure on the body. And just observing how this feels. Not just for the body, but also for the mind. Noticing, particularly when we are in positions like these, in poses like these, which can be slightly uncomfortable. Just noticing the reaction of the body. The reaction of the body is often the reaction of the mind. Okay, so slowly straightening out that leg, and we'll stay here for half a minute, just relaxing that leg before we move to the same counter pose. Okay, so now bend those knees, and we'll do that counter pose, just allowing the legs to fall very, very gently from side to side. Okay, and so let's just stop there. Just shake your legs out. And I've got a little surprise now for you. This is a counter pose that we can use especially after the Sphinx. So I'm going to show you the two options for this. This is actually a pose that we do because it really helps to strengthen the core area. So I'm going to give you two options. The ideal is to stay in this pose for a minute. It's quite an active pose, but it's nice to do it as a counteraction to the Sphinx. So, to the saddle. So basically, come to the Sphinx position. So this is the first option. And what you're going to do is you're going to bring your bum up and leaning on your knees. And just doing this position, you should be able to feel your core really working. So what I would suggest is just to stay in this position. We're going to be here for a minute. And if you're feeling really active, you can come up and hold this position. But if you have not been doing much exercise recently, I just recommend doing the first one. So simply bringing your bum up and just ensuring that your hips are not above your shoulders. And we're just going to stay here for a minute. So it's quite a nice way just to add a little bit of activity and energy when we're doing yin poses, especially when it's winter. So we have 30 seconds to go. Just keep breathing. "15 to go." Notice how your core is engaged, and you should be feeling work in your shoulders and in your arms. And very slowly come down and just relax. Put your head on your hands, just relax completely. Noticing the energy moving through your body. And then push yourself to a seated position. And we're going to move on to the butterfly. So remembering, as usual, with the butterfly, there are always different options. Option one is the seated butterfly. So remember the butterfly, we bring the feet together. We can be seated on a bolster and we move forward. So that's the first alternative. The other one would be lying down. So we can do the lying down butterfly. This way we really target the inner groin area. And the other option would be, of course, against the wall. So if you have a wall and you prefer to do that, that's another option. I'm going to be doing the lying down butterfly. So you are welcome to find or explore whichever works for you. And we'll be here for 5 minutes. So wherever you are, of course, also, if you'd like to bring your hands to your abdomen, because this also helps to remind us of our breathing. And while you're here, you can also just focus on the inhaling for 4, retaining for 1, exhaling for 4, retaining for 1. So the focus of this pose is this gentle stretching. Could be the hamstrings or the groin area, depends on your body. And as we're lying down, it's a nice gentle stretch for the back, which is particularly restorative. So now really slowly straighten those legs and relax there. Just relax here for a minute. Just noticing possibly quite a lot of warm sensations around the knees and the hips and the inside of the legs. Okay, so if you rock up now to a seated position, we're going to do a little bit more work on the inner thighs. And so from here, what I would suggest, if you need it, to come seated on a bolster with the one leg stretched out. Because from here we're going to be folding over the right leg. Remember, you can also have a block under the right leg if you need that. We're just going to be three minutes on each side. It's just to give a little bit of a stretch and to try to get into those hamstrings. So whenever you're comfortable, just simply fold over that right leg. Remember, you can also, if you have blocks, you can also have blocks on either side, and leaning, folding over that leg. The back is rounded, the head is hanging if that's comfortable for you, or you could hold your head in your hands. Now coming slowly up, vertebra by vertebra. And from here we're going to move directly to the other side. So bend that other leg and straighten the left leg out. And folding once more over that leg. If you notice any tugging or sort of strange stretching, it's possibly because you haven't been moving much, because it's cold, and your body's reacting to these unusual movements. It's a bit like when you start a car that you haven't started for a long time, or it's cold, the car is cold. It takes a while to get the warmth moving through. It's the same with the body, particularly when we're doing yin. Just getting basically the compression on the liquid in the cells, which through compression changes to a more watery state. So nourishing the connective tissue, particularly around the joints, which is exactly where we need it in the cold weather and as we're getting older. We need to keep nourishing those areas. Okay, so slowly moving upwards, vertebra by vertebra. And then bringing your legs once again, we're going to do the bend your knees and very slowly allow the legs to fall from one side to the other. It's just a very nice, relaxing counter pose. Okay, so now if we stop there, I just want to do a quick, more active counter pose, and this one is the tabletop. So if you remain in this position, I'm just going to show you, and maybe you'll remember. Basically, we're going to push up on an inhale and then exhale coming down. And we're going to do that 3 times. Okay, so when you're ready, inhale up, exhale down. Inhale up, exhale down. Last one, inhale up, and exhale down. Okay, so that's just adding, you can shake your wrists out. That's just adding a little bit of energy to the yin, which is especially nice when it's a little bit cold. And we're going to move now onto a little bit of the front body. So we're going to be doing the melting heart. So if you remember that one, remember all the different options here. The easiest option is to have your legs open and then to come forward with your head on the mat. So this looks a little bit like the child's pose. And if this is uncomfortable, you can also place a bolster underneath and relaxing like that. So that is the first option, the first alternative when you come into this position. And then remember, of course, the other options would be to have the same position with your feet together, and your knees apart, and then you can come forward with your hips over your knees and your arms in front of you. And we're going to be here for 5 minutes. So find what option works for you. Because once again, this is challenging. If you haven't been doing a lot of work, if you have any injuries in your shoulders, it might feel quite challenging for you. So always so important to listen to your body. But this pose is particularly useful for opening up and warming the shoulders. We often use it at the end of a yoga practice. It's just great as well for opening up the front of the body with a nice back bend. Don't forget to breathe. Relax and enjoy this nice stretch for your shoulders. Particularly if you've been working at the computer all day. Okay, we've got 2 minutes to go. If you need to, come out and rest. Remember, always listening to your body.